Great, everyone, and we're live. Welcome, everyone. We're very excited to have you here. It's awesome that everyone is here supporting Israeli energy technology. We want to welcome everyone once again to Ignite the Spark, the inaugural E-Summit. Just a reminder, really brief housekeeping. Make sure that you're keeping yourselves muted. For the duration of it, we'll let you know when to unmute yourself, as well as when to turn on your cameras. We want to know who's here, so rename yourself. Put your company as well. Put your full name and company in there. As you can see, we already put up the first poll so you can get involved and you can see who is here. Really quickly, I want to thank for those people that are here, that are supporters of Ignite and purchased the supporters ticket. It means the world to us that you support what we're doing and the message of Ignite the Spark. Briefly, this is your first time here, as there's some people that are just a curious passerby, about six to eight of you. We're extremely excited that this is your first Ignite the Spark event. Now, what is Ignite the Spark? We're an Israeli energy tech community that focuses on bringing key stakeholders throughout the sector together to better off the sector by growing. How does that growth happen? Networking events, having everyone come together, work, and then be able to support each other on the international stage as well. As you can kind of see by everything that's filling up right now, we're mostly dominated by startups. We also have investors in the crowd, academia, corporates, government officials. It's all over the board. So with this diverse group, you're going to be hearing from a multitude of them today. We're going to hop into some keynote speakers. Then we're going to hop into the roundtables that you've already been pre-sorted into. And then we'll get into the final notes and keywords. Now, we kept talking about a surprise announcement, and we want to make sure that you stick around. We'll give you a bit of a teaser after the keynote speakers. And then what we'll be doing is giving you the full information after each of your roundtables. Now,
Ignite Sparkers, I welcome you to this exciting summit. You know, especially these days, the focus of this summit has become critical to many nations around the world. Renewable energy, clean air, clean world is one of the areas which is important to all of us here in Israel, and luckily more and more to nations around the world. Those of us who are part of the modernized world have realized the importance of clean energy and clean tech overall to not only our quality of life, but also the quality of this world and the way we are going to leave this world to the next generations. I myself have been a part of an investment firm in the past that focused some of its investment in this exciting area. We have seen successes and failures, but this is the way to promote the world of innovation. I welcome all of your ideas and innovations. I truly believe that this is now the time, despite all challenges, by the way, despite all challenging people who may object this way or another to investing efforts and the resources to the development of clean, renewable energy resources and technologies, this is now the time to tell all of them the world has to become cleaner for the better life of all of us today and our children and our grandchildren. This is the time now to work on a better world. I welcome all of you and wish you a pleasant, enjoyable, and fruitful conference.
I want to give a special thanks to the Israeli Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Yitzhar Shai, for opening up this event with such kind words, especially your previous work that you've done within our sector, to now the continued message and support of Israeli energy tech, Ignite the Spark, and innovation as a whole here in Israel. Now, a special partner of ours that has helped to put on this event and previous events as well, Startup Nation Central. The work that you have done not only in our sector, but in supporting startups and various ecosystems is amazing. So I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Wendy Singer, Executive Director of Startup Nation Central.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Cody. Welcome to the ministers and to our guests. We at Startup Nation Central are especially excited about the collaboration between Ignite the Spark and ourselves. A few words about Startup Nation Central before we get started. Our organization was born about 7 years ago in order to connect Israeli technologies with global challenges. Now, we actually do that in 3 ways. First of all, everything at the root of everything that Startup Nation Central does is research and insights. And what we did is map the entire startup ecosystem in Israel, and we put it online. It's a platform called Startup Nation Finder, and there you can find all of the startups and innovative companies, all the R&D centers, and all the venture capital funds, as well as the technologies that are coming out of academia. Now that really serves as the basis for our 2 main activities, one of which is connecting the Israeli tech ecosystem to the world, and the second is strengthening that tech sector, that tech ecosystem from within. In terms of connecting to the world, we have a team or a department at SNC that is hosting corporates and government leaders at a pretty steady clip, Corona notwithstanding, where we host in our building Fortune 1000 C-level visitors in order to connect their very specific pain points with potential solutions that can be found in the Israeli tech ecosystem. As you can see here, in the last few years, we have had over 200 of these innovation engagements. They run across many different sectors and have resulted in a wide range of collaborations between these corporates and governments, again, and Israeli technologies. In terms of strengthening the tech ecosystem from within, one of the most important aspects of our work is actually building, supporting, and nurturing these innovation communities that are based on a specific sector. Until now, the 3 areas, the strategic sectors that we focused on are in digital health, agri-tech, and Industry 4.0. We are especially honored to have taken this energy tech as a new community, and one that we are very eager to work on with Cody and with Ignite the Spark in order to build out this very promising new innovation sector. And we actually have a very specific opportunity, which we're going to be sharing with you during the course of the conference. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to this partnership growing and getting stronger. All the best.
Wendy, thank you so much. On behalf of Ignite the Spark, our entire community, I would like to thank you and the team at Startup Nation Central for all the hard work and efforts that you put in. Now, to get the ball rolling, we couldn't have talked about energy tech without having Havrat Hashmal, the Israel Electric Company, share about their new era of innovation in the Israeli utility. I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Amir Livne, Senior Vice President of Strategy, Innovation, and Restructure Process.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Livne. I'm a Senior Vice President of Strategy, Innovation, and Restructure Process at IEC. And as you all know, the Israel Electric Company has undergone a drastic change in its structure and strategic processes in recent years. The historical reform that signed between the management, the government, and the unions less than 2 years ago was the main drive for it. The company is undergoing a drastic change, breaking itself and reassembles all the divisions, the business units, and the processes it is in charge of. And we are shifting our focus from generating power into establishing and operating the power grid as the main focus of the company. You witnessed these processes and read about them over the newspapers. And only in the last few days, we have announced a winner of the tender to the selling of the Ramat Hovav power station, which is one of the largest sites in the country, about 1,100 megawatts, operating on natural gas for a price of about 4.2 billion shekels. And I think this is a good testament to the confidence of the private sector in the process, and a good indication of the development of a more competitive electricity generation market in Israel. In the strategic processes we undertook to adapt the company to the challenges it faced after the reform, we discovered three main challenges. The first one was the need to stabilize and to improve the financial stability of the company due to the debt accumulated in the previous decades. Secondly, we had to prepare the company for competition, mainly in the sections relevant for it, which is the generation and the retail, because the network itself is a natural monopoly, of course. And lastly, we had to cope with the huge technological changes happening in the energy economy. And my goal in this short speech is to talk to you about this third topic, the technology, the innovation shift, and the attitude of IEC to these issues as the largest body in the energy economy in Israel. Einstein perhaps received his Nobel Prize for discovering the photovoltaic process. And companies such as Ormat or Solel have grown up in Israel. But we must admit that comparatively, Israel is relatively weak in energy research and development, especially when compared to other technological fields. Someone once told me that IC has some responsibility for the issue. And when I asked him to elaborate, he resembled IC to a large tree, blocking the sunlight and preventing other plants from growing under its branches. Until the reform and the strategic change that the company undergoes, it was mainly self-focused and looking inside. But today we understand, we deeply understand that this must change. We want to open the company to get a look outside the window, and we want to take advantage of the immense ability and talents found in every corner in Israel. And I think Ignite the Spark community is a great example of such an atmosphere. Because the technological changes that the electricity sector faces, IC has defined innovation as a key strategic process that should penetrate actually end-to-end to all of its operations, all of its divisions and business units. And we build internal processes within the company to encourage and to allow all the divisions to apply innovation methods. In parallel, we are building mechanisms that will allow the company, the units, to open the company out into the world of academia, research and development, startups, and entrepreneurs. We will start to build collaborative frameworks with Israel academics and academic institutes. And we are working to collaborate with different government agencies, such as the Innovation Authority, the Ministry of Energy, and the PUA, the Public Utility Authority, to synchronize and create investment and development channels that will allow, the metaphor before, the plants to grow under the big tree. The purpose of this short speech is to prepare you, actually to invite you and to work with you in collaboration in order to grow a leading energy and electricity industry in Israel. I want to thank everybody, and I wish everyone a successful and interesting conference ahead. Bye-bye and good luck.
Thank you, Amir. It gives great hope to the Israeli energy tech entrepreneurs that they're going to be able to work directly with Havrat Hashmal, the Israel Electric Company, in ushering a new era of cooperation and growth of the Israeli energy tech sector to then create a global powerhouse. Now, I've previously sat down in a recorded interview with the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Product Strategy and founder of SolarEdge, Mr. Lior Handelsman. Make sure you stay tuned, because afterwards, we're going to be getting into the live roundtables, and then as well, right before I give you a sneak peek of our surprise announcement. So exciting. This is a great little conversation we're about to get into. As the founder of the EnergyTech community of Israel, Ignite the Spark, this is definitely an honor. Lior.
Thank you. I shouldn't have to introduce you, but Lior Handelsman, you're the founder, current VP of Marketing and Product Strategy for SolarEdge. I would love to turn it over to you to kind of talk a little bit about yourself and then also SolarEdge.
Sure. So Lior Handelsman, indeed started SolarEdge with 4 other friends in 2006. Had the opportunity in SolarEdge to do pretty much everything from R&D to marketing and sales and operations and business development and a lot of other things throughout the year. Today, I'm responsible in SolarEdge for product and product strategy, marketing and business development and corporate strategy. SolarEdge is basically we saw an opportunity in the inverter space, which back then in 2006 was all about industrial boxes that convert power and were only competing on efficiency. And we saw the opportunity to bring into this field the cloud connectivity, remote monitoring, a lot of optimization in the system level. And it worked out well. We're now, by revenue at least, the largest inverter company in the world. And we have expanded our offering in solar, not just to inverters, but inverters and home energy management and storage and a lot of other value-adding offerings in monitoring and algorithms and remote management of systems. And we're gradually expanding outside of the solar industry to energy storage in general and critical power and even e-mobility all the way down to drivetrains in electric vehicles.
Which I think is great because it's all tied in.
It's all tied in. It's all, when you look at how our energy world is changing, so probably we're going to talk about it later, but renewables are becoming the most economic power source. And because of the intermittency, you need storage and then power generation, storage. And now it's all just a form of that. If you can control your HVAC system, then you're basically controlling your energy and you can optimize that versus your energy generation and your energy storage. And charging your car is just another way of storing energy and moving with your car around the city. You're taking some of your energy with you and you can then share it wherever you are. It's just one connected thing, which is super exciting.
So you kind of touched on it already, but what has changed in the last 6 months? We've obviously had a very turbulent year. There's a lot of promise coming after 2019. A lot of investment happening globally into the sector. Kind of what do you see as the industry, how it's changed in the past 6 months, but then also what's changed in SolarEdge in the past 6 months?
Okay, so the last 6 months, obviously with COVID and the change that it brought to the world, I think the most important word, one single word for the energy industry is the word resiliency. And resiliency, you can see it in the macro level and in the micro level. So in the macro level, countries realize that they need more resiliency. Doesn't matter if it's resiliency in the health system or even in their ability to manufacture food locally, or even in their internal tourism, but also in energy. So countries see the need for resiliency. And in the micro level, people see the need for resiliency. We see more and more demand for home backup and energy storage in the home and the ability to be more resilient versus the grid. It's not like the zombie apocalypse is upon us, but definitely the trend for resiliency is there. It comes also when you look at the consumption patterns. So all utilities, all energy network providers, they plan for consumption patterns. And the consumption pattern changed dramatically.
People were just sitting at home, Netflix.
People are sitting at home, less industrial air conditioning, less travel around the country. So that changed consumption patterns, which increased the need for resiliency because now you need much more flexibility in the grid, or at least in some places. And also, a lot of the part that the grids don't have to be that flexible in their ability to let's say, generate and store energy was because the consumption is predictable. Now, this huge change that changed everything. and utilities and countries realize that they need more flexibility, which then contributes to resiliency. So these are the two changes in the energy world in the last 6 months. It brings to everyone that is actually doing solar systems and even other energy systems, even if you're selling HVAC systems, you needed to adapt to a world where remote selling is the only way to sell, to a world where you cannot interact with people the same ways that you could have before COVID. And we saw all of our customers needing to evolve to remote selling, remote marketing. We had to evolve to remote selling and remote marketing. We've migrated all of our marketing activities to be online, a lot of webinars, a lot of online interaction, personal online interaction, and company to many online interaction. We're in June. June is a holiday in the solar industry because there's always Intersolar in Germany, the big show. Intersolar was canceled. We adapted and we now have this virtual show. So we basically announced that on the same days of Intersolar, we're doing a virtual solar show, which we tried not, so it won't be in the form of a pre-recorded webinar or in the form of a pre-recorded content moderation, because I think that people are a little bit tired of that, sitting at home watching. We've had a huge uptick in webinars and people interacting online, so we made the show very different. There's a 3D actual booth where you can walk around and you can actually meet SolarEdge people live on that booth, and you can get tours from them. And there's a live conference. The conference is not pre-recorded. Hopefully it will also be seamless in how it works, but there's a live conference where you can actually ask questions as the conference goes on, in live product shows and face-to-face meetups with SolarEdge team. We're trying to replicate a show experience to the virtual world as much as possible.
You adapt it as best as possible.
Yeah, without the beer and hot dogs that you can find.
Dogs?
Yeah.
So you talked about something that's really beautiful, kind of the resiliency and the adaptation of these times in COVID-19. How in an energy tech startup, what's your best advice for them on how to adapt in these times and how to be resilient?
So first of all, this disruption is opening up a lot of opportunities because of that accelerated need for resiliency. It's going to do on a slower pace because it's still hardware and energy. What happened to the online conferencing? People have to digitize fast, so people have to add flexibility fast. And there's huge amount of opportunities, and you need to be out there and see them and find them. And we already see openness in companies that usually move very, very slow in adapting solar or adapting storage. There is a lot of openness to move much faster. That's the good part of a change. The bad part that there's less funding going around. There's less openness in some companies to spend money because people are uncertain of the economic state. If I was a startup, and some of these even apply to SolarEdge, the first thing is that if you can get funding now, get funding now. Because as startups, being funded is the most important thing. And if you can get funding now, even if it's not the best terms, you should go for it because these are uncertain times. The second is many startups that we see delay as much as possible adding people outside of Israel. And you compensate that by flying a lot and meeting a lot of customers. What I see is that startups that were caught in this with some presence abroad can now move much faster than people that don't have some presence abroad, because you have someone that can still interact face-to-face with customers, which has no replacement even in the virtual world. So if you can get abroad people, I would do that earlier than later because of what we see now, our inability to fly, which I don't think is going to change fast, and abroad flight is going to be much more expensive going forward. And the third thing, other than get funding and get people abroad is I think that the global focus is going to change a little bit. So the US dominance and the ability to move fast with US customers because they are open for innovation is going to slow down a little bit. The US is a little bit more disrupted in a negative way because of COVID than, let's say, Europe. So in Asia, so I would definitely look more on European. I wouldn't desert the US market for sure, but I would look more on European and Asian markets, and not just on the US market, which some startups really focus on that.
Kind of more on the topic of markets that would be suggesting to focus on now, especially as travel is becoming much more difficult.
There are a lot of opportunities opening up.
So what other topics or verticals within energy tech, because it's a large domain at the end of the day, what else is interesting to you? Obviously, what SolarEdge is getting into.
So we are already in a lot of fields, right? So we do solar, so we do solar inverters, and even in some countries we sell solar modules and solar systems we sell in Israel. And we have home energy management systems. So anything around home energy management is super interesting to us. We have storage, so we have our lithium-ion R&D center in Korea, and we sell storage systems and storage interactions. We do grid management and grid services. We have an R&D center in Italy for electric mobility, where we develop full drivetrains for cars, which we sell into the automotive industry. We have a critical power division in Modi'in and in Jerusalem, which is doing UPS systems and other critical power systems. It's all around power, the management of power, the cloud management of power and energy storage, everything around that is interesting, just different facets of the same thing.
In our conference today, we're going to be talking a lot about domestic demand for innovation, especially in Israel, where innovation is supported so well. Is there anything that SolarEdge is specifically looking for?
So all these verticals are interesting. If there's interesting tech in home energy management, or interesting tech in optimizing energy around the home or the office or the building or the grid, and everything is interesting to us, and we're always open to collaboration in many forms. So I can't point to something specific out of what I just said, but sure, very exciting to hear what.
Hopefully, and so I think the best thing is the future and the future entrepreneurs. We speak with students all the time. In our community, we have over 100 startups, different entrepreneurs, some new, some old. As someone who founded a company that's extremely successful, what's your best advice for them?
As a high-level Chinese wisdom kind of advice is that aim high. Aim high is very important. I meet a lot of startups in many things I do, and I keep seeing companies which, because of the very, very modest beginning, and every startup is a modest beginning, are aiming to begin with very low in terms of, here's a market, it's a huge market, I want to capture 1% of that market. And if you aim to 1%, you're not going to hit 1%. You're always going to hit lower than what you aim. And if you aim for an exit in 3 years, you're never going to hit that, and it's going to be 10 years. And if you don't have a ideal startup and at least vision how you can be a market leader in a specific market which is interesting enough, then it's not worth your time and energy, because everything that you actually plan for happens less than what you plan for. Everything in our plans, we are not there yet. And if you don't aim high, you're going to hit low. That's the equation of
management of expectations.
Yeah, management of expectations and aim high, because that's the only way to get to a reasonable point. If there's a market and it's a big market, if you don't see how your tech can take you to be number one in that market, it's you are starting wrong. Now, maybe it will take a lot of time to be number one. Maybe you won't get to be number one. Maybe you don't even know how to be number one in terms of business and business development and funding it. But at least you need to see that what you're starting with can potentially make you number one. If you're starting with something with an added feature for a market as big as it is, and you're saying, I'm going to get 1% of that market, and that's $50 million, and it sounds like a big number, or $100 million, it's very hard. You go out of the gate, and it's just one feature, and it's hard to sell just one feature. It's very hard to be 1% if you don't have a killer app. It's not going to pan out. And it's also going to be hard to find investors.
So we're going to do something 5 free electrons, kind of just rapid fire the first thing that comes to your mind. What do you see as the biggest constraint in Israel for startups in the energy tech sector?
That there's no market.
That there's no market.
Yeah.
How can there be a market? What do you think?
They want the small country,
Mhm.
very regulated. Everything in Israel is very regulated. There's advantages in that and there are disadvantages. In between these two, small market, we're a small country. And the high level of regulation, especially around energy, it's very nice to sell in Israel. It's very important. We started also when we started to sell in Israel because Israeli customers, we're Israelis, it's great. But you need to start working outside of Israel from day one. And that's a disadvantage that all Israeli startups have pretty much in everything, especially in energy.
So COVID-19, I know we already talked about it in length, but do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing for the energy tech industry?
First of all, in general, COVID is bad, right? People are dying and the economy is disrupted. I cannot relate to COVID as something good. I think that aside from the bad thing it brings to humanity and the bad things it brings to the economy, it opens up a great number of opportunities because even the most conservative of utilities and the most conservative of countries realize they need to digitize and innovate and increase the resiliency level of their grid. So it brings opportunities.
You were touched on earlier about energy tech and startups specifically and how they just need to take whatever funding they can get, take it. How can we attract more venture money into the sector? It's always a tough question.
So energy is hard for venture. Energy is hard for venture because the business model of a venture firm is you need to have an exit within a set amount of time, and usually the lifetime of funds in venture capital is around 10 years. And energy is a slower market. Energy is a slower market in the sense that there's a slow adoption rate, and especially the more your tech and energy segment is, let's call it utility scale, the slower it is. And that's probably the main reason why there's less venture money in energy. So first, you need to find all the investment entities that are investing for a longer period of time. There are venture capital firms that are willing to invest in seed, even though they know that it's going to take more than 10 years. There are such entities, you just need to find them. Most of them are not in Israel. That's okay, you can get funding from abroad. Our first round of financing came from Israeli and US investors because it's easier to find these type of VC firms outside of Israel, but there are some in Israel. So one thing, find the right investors, right? Manage the expectation. The second thing, if you can find, you can't do it in all segments, but if you can find a way to start your products not in, let's call it the utility space, but more in a space which moves faster, that has faster adoption, that would be a very good way to cross the value of debt that we see in
potentially go to the utility space later.
Yeah, because we had that luck where inverters, we started in residential, not because our technology is inherently better in residential. We now sell in residential, in commercial, in utility. We started in residential because it's easier to sell, less bankability requirements. When you're an inverter company and you want to sell to the utility space, you need to be bankable. Can't be a startup and bankable, it's very hard. So we started in residential because we could sell without bankability. We could sell to early adopters. It's just a person, he's building a system on his home, he's willing to take a chance on a new technology, it's easier. So we had that luck that in the inverter space, we could start in residential and grow into utility. I realized that there are some startups which their technology works only in large scale. That's a hard start. because you need, your first customer need to give you millions of dollars or a big fund, and that is bankability and lots of other things. If you can find a way to start your technology in a market that moves, in a segment that moves faster, which is smaller, that would be a great start, even if you have more benefits in utility later.
So I think this is more of just a fun question right now. If you weren't the co-founder of SolarEdge, what would you be?
That's
As an
easy.
entrepreneur.
So it's
on the beach somewhere?
no. If that's easy. We all came to SolarEdge out of the military. We all served in military intelligence. And I had these two decisions. I could get a big promotion and go for a military career track, or I could leave the military and come to SolarEdge. And I had to do this, and I decided to go for SolarEdge. But if I wasn't the co-founder of SolarEdge, I would be now planning my release vacation from the military after additional 10 years. I already did 10 years, after additional 10 years in military intelligence. That's an easy question. I literally had 2 paths to take. So
as someone who's part of the industry as well, I'm very happy that you chose this route and you founded SolarEdge and it's such a leader. Any last words to kind of wrap up right now?
First of all, thank you very much. I think that we're coming to a very exciting week, both Ignite the Spark conference and our virtual solar show. So I hope that people will have time for both. Yeah, it's online. There's no travel needed.
Nope.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, Lior.
Thanks.
Well, everyone, I hope that very insightful. I want to thank all our speakers one more time for participating. I hope you got a lot from my conversation with Lior. I know I did. The reason I got into energy technology and understanding this more and having a deep passion for it is because of my time understanding SolarEdge years ago in the US and diving deeper into their technology. We're going to be sending out right now a link to SolarEdge's virtual solar show for you to be able to join as well. On top of that, as you can kind of see as well, we always want to bring you better content. We put together some amazing content today, so we sent out another survey for you, so then you can go and tell us what you need more. And as you fill that survey out, we want to bring up what we're going to be doing more as Ignite the Spark. Ignite the Spark, as I mentioned before, it's grassroots. We're mostly volunteers, all of us. We all have our separate day jobs. But what we know is that we want to grow energy technology. So what we're going to be doing is first with the full comprehensive map of the EnergyTech ecosystem. That's the sneak peek that I'm going to give you on the surprise announcement. We're going to be putting together, as you can see on the screen right here, the first comprehensive map. We've partnered with Startup Nation Central, and we're very proud to be able to put this together and have this ready for you. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be telling you how to get involved more with Ignite the Spark. We're also going to be telling you how to get involved with the energy tech sector map as well. We're going to tell you all about our future events. Quickly though, speaking about future events, I want to invite Mr. Yoni Levenfield, project manager at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, to talk about an event that's happening next week.
Thank you, Cody, and thanks for inviting me. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. What a great turnout.
Right now.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Cody and Eshel. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here. What a great and exciting turnout. Cody, maybe let me share my screen. So to share another upcoming opportunity for this exciting energy community is involved with the EU Green Deal that I'm sure some of you heard about. We're here from the EIT Hub in Israel, joined with the EU Commission and with ESERD to offer entrepreneurs, partners, industry and academia actors in Israel and Europe to come together for a blended event, first of its kind. It means it's going to happen online and offline simultaneously, to come to understand how this green call can be achieved and utilized based on your needs. It's happening next Thursday, and it could be a great follow-up from both this event and the SolarEdge event that is happening together. I was mentioned before, this comes together from the EIT Hub in Israel, ESERD, and the EU Embassy in Israel. And the idea is there's this €1 billion call, just targeted to help entrepreneurs and policymakers come together to leverage green technology, green initiatives. And this could be very relevant for people here sitting in the call. And the idea is during this event is really to help practicalize it. How can you access these funds? Lior was talking a bit about the challenge of adding funds in the ecosystem, in the energy ecosystem field. So this could be also an opportunity to how to leverage and access some of these funds more easily. It's going to be also a blended event, but also zero waste, so which we're very proud of, happening both in Tel Aviv, in the Paris Center for, and online at the same time. And it'll have like 3 rooms. So besides the main stage with top-notch speakers, there's also going to be 2 more stages. Also have a startup pavilion showcasing Israeli and European startups, and a training room in Hebrew for Israeli entrepreneurs, researchers, and different partners that want to understand a bit more how to access these funds. Some of the speakers that you can see them here from CU of Unilever, and different government speakers both in Israel and in Europe. And it would be great to see you there. And thank you all, and hope to see you and have a great rest of the conference. And again, thank you, Cody, and Eshel.
Great, everyone. Great. So thank you, Yoni. We're very excited for next week as well. And while we're talking about next week, we have another event that we partnered with that we're very excited about. It's the first in a series of events. It's going to be on the 22nd. We've partnered with the UK-Israel Tech Hub and the British Embassy, so then we could bring forward a similar concept and discussing the relations and beginning the conversation around climate and how Israel and the UK can work better together. Now, what we're going to be doing is, right now, we're going to be going into our breakout rooms. So some of you will be slowly shifted into your breakout rooms. Don't worry if you haven't. You're going to stay right here, and you'll get a notification to be sent to your breakout rooms. And then this main room will stay as the pitch room. So startups will be pitching here, and you will be able to hear what they have to offer as well as in the EnergyTech ecosystem. So I'm going to be able to turn it over to Roni right now, who's part of our Ignite team, who's going to be handling the startup pitches.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Cody. We will wait about a minute, and then we can start our pitches. Okay, so we have 5 startups that will pitch us this afternoon, and the first one will be Aviv Bergman from RayCatch. Aviv, you can start, you can share your screen and go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aviv Bergman. I'm the VP Sales of RayCatch. And momentarily, okay. Do you see my screen?
Wait a second. Yes, now we can see your screen.
Right, so let me say a few words about RayCatch. The idea behind RayCatch is the following. We are in the business of the solar PV. And when you look at the PV sites, they look very stable and so on. However, there is a lot of issues that comes over time in this arena. And what we can see in this diagram is a research that was made by Fraunhofer, which is the biggest PV institute, research institute, and they found that most of the sites are working in an underperforming, in a suboptimal way. This is the green area, and the idea behind the company is to find this additional recoverable energy that with the current tools, you cannot see that and you cannot retrieve this information. Using in PV arena, usually people use a monitoring system. The problem with monitoring system, it shows the noisy data. It shows all kind of visualization of the current situation, but they cannot show you what is the problem. And the idea behind the company is that by using artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm that we have developed, we will be able to show to the customer this additional energy. So the idea behind the company activity.
Sorry, we don't see these slides. We still see, I see only the opening slide.
I share my screen. Let me try again. You share.
You need to share the presentation view, not your screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen, but we need to see the presentation. Start presentation.
I do that. Let me try again. How about now? I see that it says that I'm sharing my screen, so.
Yeah, it's showing, we can see your slides,
Yeah.
but if you see top left, there is a very top left, there is a podium, a little play button, right at the top near the save button, and then we can see the full screen. It's just a bit easier.
You don't see my screen. So something is wrong because this I use this platform all the time and it works fine. What do you see right now?
The second slide.
Yes, but we see the slides not in presentation view, but in the editing view of PowerPoint.
This is strange. Just 1 second, let me try again. Let me go into that.
Do you see on the top left of your screen, there is a little podium, a little symbol with a little play button. Or a little bit to the right, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the right. Yeah,
Yes,
a little bit, that's it, yeah, that's it.
That's the one.
Okay, so is it okay now?
Click it again.
No. Yeah, this is my screen.
Oh.
Is it okay now? Do you see the third slide?
You need to click.
Yeah, we see the third slide, even if it's not in presentation mode, it still works fine.
I
Yeah,
use it all
it's
the
fine.
time and it works all the time. So it's something with the...
Are you using two screens maybe?
Good enough.
It's
Let's continue with that one. Very
Okay,
good.
let's continue. So if the idea behind that is we are connecting to the existing database of the PV plant through the monitoring system or through the SCADA system. Through that, we can retrieve the historical data. This is done without any intervention of the customer. And the customer also only needs to give us credential to his monitoring system in read-only mode. And from that point, automatically, we start the data acquisition. So we'll take all the data that is available in the last 12 or 24 months backwards. And once we have it in our system, and the system is, of course, cloud-based, we can run the AI training on this data. The core of the technology of the company is within these algorithms, and we have a variety of algorithms to do that. First one is to clean the data, which is one of the most important part because PV plants are very chatty and very noisy. And then we can come with, after we run the AI algorithms, with insights and action items. The first report will give the customer information about what can be done, what needs to be done, and everything is based on ROI. So we take into configuration the value of the electricity and the energy that is not produced, and we show it to the customer in an ROI version. And once this is done on a daily basis, we go back to the site, we retrieve the additional 24 hours information, we run the AI again, and on the next day, we'll show the customer these additional results. So a few words about the technology. So if you look at the daily performance curve, you know, sun goes up, after sunset go down. You have the curves, the PR according to the statistics and the expectation. However, there is a lot of issues that come up. For example, issues with the dust, issues with inter-row shading, all these kind of things that normally you will be able to mask, you will not be able to mask that, but our system are able to mask all these environmental issues and show to the customer exactly and where he can find this additional recoverable energy. We do root cause identification and also quantization of this issue. So for the customer, what is the benefit? First of all, we can find additional recoverable energy up to 8% on the average. If we take a site of 5 years old, we will find additional 4% of additional energy that he will not be able to see that in any other way. We can reduce the O&M cost by, for example, making dust cleaning on demand. All of our results are ROI driven, and by using the deep solar, which is the trademark of our system, he will know where the problem is, how to solve it, and do that over time. Issues like string performance, disconnected strings, inverter efficiency or disefficiency, relatively efficiency of the inverters by comparing one to the other, and so on. Few words about the company. So we were founded in 2015 by solar experts. Today we are 25 employees.
Avil, we have less than a minute.
Okay, very good. So we are 25 employees. Two of our more known investors are BayWa from Germany and DSM from the Netherlands. Where we are from marketing point of view, so today we run about 3 gigawatts of capacity. Our main focus is on CNI and utility base, so we don't deal with residentials. Our main focus is in Europe, Asia Pacific, and Middle East. At this point of time, we are very little do business in North America. And I think this is what I can say in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Avihu. Our next speaker is Eddie from PDP. Eddie, can you share your screen, please?
Yes, hi everyone, just a second. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. So, hi, I'm Eddie Sedan, CEO for PDP Technologies. The company's mission is keeping the power grid healthy. As you know, power grids are very critical and important assets for utilities, making sure that they can have reliable supply of power to their customers. One of the greatest challenges in managing an asset such as the grid is while keeping it resilient and reliable, and to prevent failures, we also want to do it in a cost-efficient way, keeping O&M costs that make sense. PDP's solution answers both. We both prevent power grid failures to happen and also support condition-based maintenance strategies that save a lot of money for utilities, and of course, being part of turning the grid into a smart thing with digital solutions. What we do, we tackle a phenomenon called partial discharge, PD. We detect, monitor, and analyze this phenomena. A word about the phenomena itself. It's really the release of electromagnetic energy when there are gaps in isolation, when it comes to transformers, switchgear, most of the high voltage and mid voltage equipment. So following this has two benefits. One is it's called the silent killer of high and mid voltage equipment. A lot of the failures come from acceleration of PD events because, as you know, isolation, as it starts to open up and gaps are opening up, the release of energy accelerates this, and finally it brings us to total failures. So it's a good indicator to prevent failures, but also a good indicator to make predictions, meaning that if we follow not only the PD for itself as an absolute number, but trends, frequencies, correlated with other environmental indicators like temperature, load, and other things, there are a lot of insights that you can get and really support condition-based maintenance, which is all what utilities are looking for. In terms of our solution, we have a few layers to that. First of all, there is a detection unit in the field. It doesn't need to touch the equipment, the transformer or whatever we're following, because we're using an ultra-wideband antenna that captures electromagnetic information from the air. The detection unit is doing an initial analysis in order to clean out all the noise and understand what are the PD events and how they look like. We send that information to a central server that activates machine learning algorithms that do the deeper analysis and provide maintenance insights for utilities that maintain these type of equipment like transformers and so on. And of course, use all this big data to have an understanding what's the real health situation of these pieces of equipment. And our mission is really to revolutionize the way utilities are maintaining these, rather than doing preventive maintenance actions like periodical checks and so on. What they're doing right now is really ongoing monitoring and data analytics that will support maintenance on time rather than just preventive maintenance. In terms of where the company is, we're now moving from a POC year that we've done with Enel, the Italian utility, to a full pilot. We are now hosted at Infralab in Haifa, which is owned by both Enel and Shikun and Binui. So we hope to move forward on a full range pilot for us. We're also being chosen to a few very prestigious competitions in the EnergyTech world, Free Electrons and Starter, for example. And we're using those platforms to negotiate right now with a few more global utilities like Enel, more pilots. What we need to do is move from demo equipment that we've used up till now to test our technology, to alpha versions that we're going to use for the pilot, and then to commercial. And use these pilots to also activate our machine learning algorithms in order to make our activity commercial. Someone needs to put on mute. Sorry, I think it's Aviu, the guy that talked before me.
I mute him. Eddie, you have less than a minute, please.
That's fine, I'm finishing. So anyway, our plan is to run a few pilots with global utilities, Enel and others in the next year, move to a fully commercial product next year and start sales then, where our business model combines both hardware sales and software as a service when it comes to maintenance, insight, data analytics, and so on. And we are, of course, in search for additional money to be invested, $500,000 to $1 million for this next round that will allow us to move from where we are today to fully commercial products. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eddie, right on time. Our next speaker is Zvika Kleo from Tigi Solar. Zvika, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes. But it says that I cannot start the video.
Wait.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Eddie needs to take down his.
Sorry, just a second.
Eddie, stop sharing.
Is it okay now?
Not yet.
Can you see Tigi's screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Now you can see. Go ahead, Zvika.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Zvika Kleo. I'm CEO of Tigi, and I'm gonna try to make it very simple about what we do and maybe take even less than 5 minutes. So most people that speak in this conference and are interested in this community are dealing with electricity and power all the time. And many people think that if power goes renewable, then greenhouse effect and the climate are okay. Where in fact...
Zvika, I'm sorry for disturbing you. If any one of our participants haven't accepted to move their breakout room, please do so. Please continue, Zvika.
Should I continue? Okay.
Yes.
Where in fact heat represents about 50% of the world's end use and is generated also almost completely by burning of fossil fuels, and electricity only delivers about 20% of the world's energy. Where I'm counting heat that is provided by electricity in the 20%. So this is just to say that there is another potential opportunity which could be very large, where renewables play only a small role today. And this is happening primarily because renewable heat today is not very efficient where most heat is needed. Basically, if you think about the way that solar thermal collectors, being a large renewable, and solar thermal delivers about the same or generates about the same amount of energy as photovoltaic worldwide, but again, in a much larger energy segment. The major challenge of solar thermal collectors is that they cannot be insulated on the sun-facing side. And therefore, they lose energy back to the environment because if you use normal insulation on the sun-facing side, the sun does not come inside and does not heat the absorber plate. The result is that if it's cold outside, or if you're looking to deliver high target temperatures, as are needed for industrial and commercial uses, the losses become very large and efficiency very low, and therefore, again, the participation is very low there. Tiggy developed a new type of solar thermal collector that uses transparent insulation on the sun-facing side. It allows the sun in, but minimizes the losses. And the result is that we can frequently generate up to 5x as compared to other solar thermal collectors, and reach a situation where our collectors and solutions deliver heat in cold climate conditions and for up to the boil type of applications at a cost that is dramatically lower than that of burning fossil fuels. This is in a market that burns approximately $2 trillion a year of fossil fuels. On top of developing the collector, Tiggy developed a solution. It's using the highly performing collector that we have, and a lot of know-how that went into large systems and implementing this for large users, a lot of optimization and scalability built into the solution so that it can be implemented at large scale, including in remote locations without visiting, without our engineers visiting 4 times the customer, etc. And through web services that generate report and optimization, but also that are being built in such a way that they can actually help us implement a new business model that we want to implement here, which is that of selling the heat energy rather than selling the solutions. Very similar to what is happening with photovoltaic or wind, where actually the electricity is being sold, so that new business models, which include financing the solutions, can be. I hope I'm unmuted now.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. And so where Tiggy is right now is that we have a collector that we assemble here in Israel that is very efficient. We have systems that are installed in Israel in wineries, hatching farms, army bases, hotels, elderly people homes, large dishwashing, laundries, and stuff like that, about 20 commercial and industrial systems.
Mika, we need to finish.
I'm finishing then. It is patented and certified, and what we're doing right now is we're raising the additional financing to take this solution globally, and we are in a round right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker, please don't forget to stop sharing. And our next speaker is Joseph Stanson from CO2 storage. Can you share your screen?
Yes. Let me begin this selection. So, hi everyone. Today you have a new technology that we are hoping will change the landscape of the energy market for the better.
There's a little bit distractions. Try again. Joseph, you're a little bit distracted.
Distracted. My name is Joseph Stanton.
Joseph, please turn off your camera. Please turn off
Okay.
your camera so that we can see your slides and hear you better, please.
Okay. 1 second. So, okay, distracted. And so I can be control. And start the slideshow. Okay. We are hoping will change the state of the energy market for the better, as I said. And as I said, I am Yosef Stanton. I'm a chemical process engineer for CO2 storage. So, as we know, the energy trilemma is proving to be a significant barrier to the prevention of 2 degrees of warming worldwide. Even though the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change forecasts that net zero global emissions by 2050 will be necessary to achieve this, renewable power generation is still intermittent and unreliable. Not only that, but most of the developed world is still heavily reliant on fossil fuels, and Israel is included in that. We heard earlier from Chevrat HaChashmal that a new natural gas plant is being built. One business opportunity lies in the fact that transitioning to a zero carbon world will be difficult for many small power generators. These often still produce carbon emissions as an unavoidable waste stream. Our technology is a new form of energy storage that converts renewable electricity into methane, which can be contained for long durations. This can even out the intermittent supply of renewable power. We're developing a modular system that can be fitted to small combustion generators and capture their flue gas. Renewable electricity is used when it's available to produce hydrogen. Then hydrogen is reacted with CO2 from the combustion to produce methane. This methane can be stored nearly indefinitely until power is required from the system again. Given compressed methane is drastically superior to lithium-ion batteries in both energy density and long-term stability, this technology opens up many opportunities for useful application. For example, this unit can be deployed to remote locations with no grid access who need reliable power, especially in developing countries where fossil fuels, unfortunately, are increasingly being used to meet this demand. Wherever the CO2 storage unit is deployed, profits are created with smart management of 3 prices: the costs of electricity supplied to the system, the savings generated from capturing CO2 emissions and not having to pay for them, and the cost of natural gas. This is called arbitrage. CO2 storage has seen a number of successes in the short time since we began. We've been gaining attention and investment and are making progress with demonstrating our technology despite the supply chain issues resulting from the current pandemic. Many more milestones are in the pipeline. For example, HP's Israel branch have requested that we begin work with them as soon as our pilot operations prove successful. Many companies in Europe have plans to introduce similar technologies, such as Audi's e-gas scheme. But this is a chance to perhaps
Joseph, unmute yourself. I'll try to help you with that.
Okay. How long was I muted for?
Repeat the last 2 sentences.
Okay, I will do that. So the last 2 sentences. So HP's Israel branch, basically, they've requested that we begin work with them as soon as our pilot operations prove successful. Many companies in Europe have plans to introduce similar technologies, such as Audi's e-gas scheme, but this is a chance to perhaps join the first company to do this in Israel. And I just said thank you very much, and I hope you get in touch and join us.
Thank you, Yosef. Don't forget to stop sharing. And our next speaker is Daniel Ranani from ChakraTech. Daniel?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is...
Ready to go?
I'm ready. Share my screen. Just a moment. Okay, you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, hi everybody, I'm gonna talk to you about ChakraTech and how we are trying to boost the e-mobility transition. So, the EV, the electric vehicle revolution is happening. I think all of us can already feel it. Most of it is happening now in China, in Europe, and the United States, but we also starting to feel it here in Israel. One of the main mass adoption factors to this revolution apart from obviously the price of the vehicles and the range that vehicles can do on a single charge, is the fast charging, is the ability to charge your car, let's say in 15 or even below that, because drivers today are used to stop at a gas station, 1-2 minutes, get topped up and get back to driving. And in electric vehicles, users will expect, let's say not 2 minutes or 1 minute, but starting at around 15 minutes. And this is obviously a key factor to the main adoption of the EVs. And if we look at fast charging in numbers, so if we take a typical battery of about 50 kilowatt hours, if we want to charge that battery, let's say in 15, 10 or below minutes, you can see the infrastructure that would be needed to support this charging station, 200, 300, 600 kilowatts. This is maybe equal to a small neighborhood, to a couple of skyscrapers. It's a really, really strong infrastructure that needs to be in place in order to support the fast charging process. And this is why you won't find fast chargers, obviously, in remote locations where the grid is weak. But not only there, we are now working, and I'll show you later in the presentation, in places that you would think you have enough power, but you don't. And the solution to being able to deploy fast charging stations in locations where you don't have enough power is, first of all, obviously to upgrade your infrastructure. But if you don't want to go there, because in most countries it takes a lot of time and it's very expensive projects, so the alternative to that is to deploy local energy storage. And actually local energy storage enables you to deploy fast chargers in locations where without it you couldn't. And if you take a look at this graph, this is a graph that from a charging station in the United States. So what we can see here, that if you couple your charging station with an energy storage system, so actually what you use from the grid is only the average consumption. In this case, is 27 kilowatts. And these high peaks, you see here a 100 kilowatt peak, that might be a Tesla came in to charge. The high peaks, you're taking it from your energy storage system. And this is the big advantage of using energy storage systems with EV charging stations. In this case,
Hi, this is the
כן, מה, שעה וחצי. זה היה אמור יותר דיבור. אבל... מה, אתה רציני? יא המלך.
שההוסט יעשה...
לא שאני יודע.
Bonnie, can I keep going?
Hey, Daniel, continue, please.
Okay. Okay, and this is exactly what we did in ChakraTech. We developed an energy storage system, which is unique because it's not based on a chemical system, it's based on an electromechanical based system, on a flywheel concept. And flywheels have some major advantages over chemical-based storage systems. The first one is the amount of charging cycle that our system can do in compared to chemical-based systems. Usually chemical-based systems, lithium-ion-based systems in these applications survive about 2,000, 3,000 cycles, and then they die, you need to replace them. And also they suffer from severe degradation over time. Our system can do practically an unlimited number of charging cycles. We say unlimited, of course it is limited, but it's more than 100,000 cycles, and it has no degradation. It's a very sustainable environmental system because it's all mechanical, no chemical based, and no problem to reuse and recycle the system after it's done its service, and it has a very long lifespan. We have already some projects deployed. The first one you can see here on the right is a project with Skoda in Prague.
Daniel, we need to finish. Last sentence.
Slide. The second picture here is a project we have in Vienna Airport with Wien Energie, it's a local utility. We have another project was just deployed now in Germany during COVID, was quite difficult, but we managed it. And we also partnered with Blink Charging in the US through the Bird Foundation. That's it in our roadmap. We have some more modular systems coming up next year. We were founded 7 years ago. We are 20 employees. We won some prizes. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Back to Cody.
All right, everyone. I hope that was informative. Look, we have technical difficulties all the time. It's part of the issue that we have. You know, it's just what happens sometimes. Look, we hope that you had heard some amazing things from the pitches as well. We hope that you had interesting conversations in your roundtables if you're able to attend. For those of you that weren't, we will be hosting more events. Right now, we're going to be sending out a poll for you, and that's going to be seeing what you need in our future events, what resources you need from Ignite the Spark. So as you get that link, start filling it out. Let us know what you need. At the same time, we want you to partner with us. We want you to support Ignite the Spark. We want you to be completely involved with us, and we're going to be transparent. We need your help. We want to work together. Let us know what we need. We'll be sending you a link later on with more information on how to get involved with Ignite the Spark. As well, get in contact with us. Follow us on our socials, LinkedIn. Stay involved in Ignite the Spark. This is not just us. We're a group of volunteers who do this. We take no salary from this. We work as best as we can with our full-time day jobs. We need your help to get involved in this so we could take it to the next step. Make EnergyTech in Israel a world leader. Not just from me, from Eshel, from the entire team. Everyone's help is needed. Now, we talked about that surprise announcement just a little bit and how all of you are involved in this. So what we're going to show you again is the map, the EnergyTech sector map. This is going to be the first comprehensive map for you to look at again. Now, as you can see, we divided it up. There's going to be different subsectors that are going to be on there as well. This is just for you to have a visual idea of it. Now, we're going to get more in depth with it. We're going to be sending out a Google form for you. The Google form will tell you how to get involved in it, what data we need from you. We want you and your company on that. This is a rendering in the beginning that we're extremely hard on, and we're going to continue to work hard once we have all the companies to then know how to build the map and make it look even better. So make sure you fill out that form. Again, you'll get it afterwards, emailed to you. And the next thing that I want to touch on is some insights. So we're going to invite Eshel Lippman to come and share his insights about his roundtable.
Hey guys, I think it's important to first of all share some apologies for the technical difficulties that we stumble upon. It's definitely something that we need to learn from and also provide some guidance ahead on how to do this. We try to make amazing content for you, and I bet that we'll be able to share with you some of the insights as well. In regards to our roundtable, we talked about digital utilities and how they taking information, data in all sorts of kinds in order to generate a lot of content and a lot of values for their consumers, specifically on the last mile. We had our guest from a Swedish startup called Elic. This is startup is basically generating apps for you and me, everyone who's using energy, and allows you to create better engagement with the utility, see your daily consumption using your smart meter data, and also make some upsell channels in order for people to and allow the utility to engage with the customer in a better way. As an energy entrepreneur, I think that working with utilities is definitely challenging, regardless if they're regulated or not. But if you do it correctly, you can actually open a hatch for a really interesting business model with a huge, huge market. So I wanted again to thank you all for joining, and we hope you enjoyed the first take and the different speeches. And Cody, take this from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Eshel. So the next person that I want to give their little response right now as well about what they think about this event, as well as their golden insight, is Idan Kablinsky from Arava Power.
Hi guys. Well, thank you very much. We all had some difficulties with our breakout rooms, but I think for me, what really resonated was actually what Lior from SolarEdge had said about how slow the market is in utility scale for startups. I think that's there's definitely truth to that, but I think there is also a bit of a conceptual maybe mistake in the way startups are looking at what the best path, what the optimal path is for developing a successful product and bringing it to market. You know, I think there's something to be said here for not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good and coming out with a product maybe in an earlier stage, coming out, being ready for a beta deployment, partnering with a utility like Arava, like plenty of other people out there, like municipalities, such as Iris, who was with us on the panel, and getting that feedback from day one, being able to adjust the product, being able to pivot if you need to pivot, being able to scale up using our systems, our connections later on. That in itself should, in my opinion, open up opportunities abroad as well. And I think it's something worth considering and worth working on together to figure out what the right way to build this kind of more effective paradigm for integrating and investing in energy technology. And thank you guys very much.
Great, Gidan. Thank you so much. I appreciate that valuable insight. I want to invite any other of the co-hosts who also shared in their roundtables to be able to unmute themselves and then spotlight themselves and be able to share a little bit briefly about what they were able to talk about.
Well, my roundtable was about ideation to venture. So I would share a few points. One is step-by-step validation, which needs to take place from the early stage and then later on. Since energy ventures are long time to ROI, I would suggest to exhaust any academic resources that are available and utilize all academic to commercialization paths that there is there, like Horizon 2020 or whatever there is. And after that, piloting with enterprises or municipalities or wherever is relevant. And I will take the time here to also invite any early stage ideas or startups to submit to the Climate Launchpad competition online. It's a very short application, nothing more than 15 minutes, so take the time and do it. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you, Ron. So next I want to invite up Boaz Kanter from E.ON to talk.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. And I think maybe before the golden tip, I just want to say something about the technical difficulties. And some of us remember the early days of the internet innovation in Israel. We would bring together investors and entrepreneurs and developers and and companies all together in some godforsaken small theater or cinema with popcorn and beer and some basement places, and just took a microphone and speak and used to speak things unprepared. It's when you do it grassroots and everybody's on the same level, it's totally fine to have technical difficulties as long as we start, as long as we have the discussion going. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. Just as the early days of the internet, you're doing it as in the early days of energy innovation in Israel. So kudos to that, and forget about the technical glitches. You've learned more than many others about technical, how to do it right. So our discussion was about investments, and I want to say that as opposed to the early days of the internet, where entrepreneurs would build solutions and then look for problems, or first look for investors and then look for problems. In energy today, it just can't work, at least not with strategic investors. You first have to look at yourself not as an innovator, but rather as a partner to solve real problems in the industry. Utilities are in stress mode. They're looking for innovators to work with them and solve their problems, not to make big money or with large exits or to buy solutions. They're looking for partners. So build your own startup as a partner of the industry. That would be my golden tip. And thanks again for having me here.
Boaz, thank you so much. I appreciate that little tidbit in the beginning and helping out right there. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We are past 4 o'clock right now. We are going to keep going, so I invite you all, if you want to stay, just please stay. We'll still be continuing on with the Golden Insights, and next I'm going to be able to invite Lior Nakar from the Bird Foundation.
Thank you. So we had a session discussing the non-dilutive funding that companies can receive, and we apologize for the technical difficulties, but Gideon Friedman, the chief scientist of the Ministry of Energy, and myself were there. Unfortunately, Shomrat from the Israel Innovation Authority could not join us, but I promise all of you who wanted to join our round table, we will make sure to send you the presentation and we'll be in touch with you. I think the major issues that we wanted to relate in this discussion is that there's a lot of non-dilutive funding that the government of Israel is given, whether it's through the Israel Innovation Authority, the Ministry of Energy, and obviously the Bird Foundation through the Bird Energy Program. In the end of the days, those funding is very crucial for the development of the technology and bringing it to market. And none of this program receive any equity, and it's a risk-sharing mechanism, which is very, very crucial for the development of the energy sector in Israel. What I think is important to underline is that each company should really discuss their investment strategy and think long-term how they can actually utilize those fundings from all those three organizations throughout the development of the technology and throughout the commercialization process. And we also invite all of these companies to be in touch with us, because we not just offer the funding, but we also have the ability to promote the partnership between the American companies, between the European companies, and we are here to assist you, so take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Limor, and thank you for willing to share all your presentations with everyone afterwards and all those interested. We'll make sure to be able to make this happen. So the next person I'm going to go and invite is Michal Franco-Kedmi she's a board member and energy professional, to give her golden insight.
And I would like to join Boaz Cantor's comment. I think it's a brilliant opportunity, a avant-garde opportunity, and thank you very much for this. As discussed in the roundtable, in the last few months, a dramatic reduction in oil and gas prices have occurred, mostly because a decrease of demand for fuels derived from COVID-19. For the long term, the forecast is that energy demand will increase significantly due to global population growth. As far as consumption goes, according to the EIA forecast, the scope of renewable energy consumption will surpass all other energy sources in 2050. This includes fossil fuels, natural gas, and of course, coal. In accordance with that, global companies are adapting and investing in digitization and in long-term technologies, mostly in renewables and grid improvements. Thank you very much again.
Michal, thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining today. I hope everything was insightful. We definitely will be in contact still. We're going to be reaching out to you how to stay involved for the EnergyTech map, as well as our future events. Make sure you follow us on our socials. Make sure you tag us in your socials, LinkedIn, Ignite the Spark, as well as Facebook. Next Tuesday, we partnered with the British Embassy, as I mentioned. And we'll be having an event that's going to be their first of their webinar series regarding climate change and innovation. And then on the 25th, EIT will also be having their climate change and the Green Deal policy. Make sure that you stay tuned for the map. And thank you again for all joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.